Welcome everyone. My name is Maria. This is Stashblaster Quilts. This is where I try to help you make more quilts in less time with less stress. So anyway, welcome. This is actually starting an hour later than usual, so if you wind up watching it on recording, that's perfectly fine. And most of you do anyway, so hopefully it works out. So it has been an eventful couple of weeks. Today is July 15th. So I went to Colonial Williamsburg for the 4th of July, and I was there for several days. Just out of curiosity, if any of you would be interested, I did take photos of the quilts that they have there on display. I also took quilts of the America's 250 birthday quilt. Some of them squares were really well done, some not so much. But it was interesting to see, so I'd be happy to share those with you, as well as embroidery pieces that they had there. So if you would like to see these things, either put it in the chat, or you can email me at mail@stashblasterquilts.com, and just let me know, would you like me to go ahead and put together a PowerPoint showing you all of the stuff I saw at the Art Museum and the Visitor Center at Colonial Williamsburg when I was there for the 4th. I'd be happy to do that. If you're local, or it's not too far of a drive, the America's 250 quilt is going to be up through the end of the month. It's not really a real quilt. The pieces have been just kind of stuck together. It's not quilted. It's not anything like that because there's so many pieces. There were multiple, like 6-foot tall sections on the walls and on a central wall that they built. So that, and also on the floor. So there's a lot to see. I did not take individual pictures of everything. I did take some overalls, but I can blow them up for a PowerPoint if you want one. But I was there for the 4th, which was very interesting because we've been to Colonial Williamsburg multiple times. And for the 4th, they move forward in time to the 4th of July, 1776. So normally, for example, Martha Washington is Colonel Washington's wife. But for the 4th of July, she's General Washington's wife. So the stories she has to tell are a little bit different than what she normally tells, but it was quite wonderful. The heat was not. It was 100 to 103 pretty much every day, with a heat index into the 120s. But I actually did something brilliant. I really did. I'm really proud of this. I thought in time to do this. We were getting scooters because we know what it's like to walk around and try to get from thing to thing. So the scooters were great because it gave us a breeze, which was very helpful. But my husband ordered for me one of those umbrellas you stick in the sand with the plastic spike at the bottom. And so, and a 5-foot canopy. And so I was driving along holding this on my scooter, so I took my own shade with me, and I could tip it to the side to make sure I stayed covered. I also wore a hat that I have hat pins for, so it stayed in place. So overall, it was hotter than we would have liked, but it wasn't as miserable as it was for some people, for me. So that worked out really well. We also took a cooler with ice in it and cooling cloths and all of that stuff to try to make it as bearable as we could. We also saw several events at the Art Museum, which you also get as part of your admission for free. And so we got to see some of these events, and that's air conditioned. So that made life a lot better too. So overall, it was a wonderful time. Hold on. I'll just see the pics. Okay. But it was hot. And there were so many people there that when we were looking at the idea of stopping and watching the fireworks and the show and all that, there was nowhere where we could have been, where we could have seen. It was just completely insane with how many people were there and where they were set up. Chairs were set up at 6 a.m. So that kind of gives you an idea of how bad it was. So we decided to go back to the hotel room. Now, the hotel we stay at is directly behind the visitor center. So It's basically 1 mile from there to the main drag of Colonial Williamsburg. And you could go through the woods, which is nice because it was cooler. But it meant that we were really close to where they were setting off the fireworks. We could actually see them from our window. We were watching the entire show on the local PBS, C-SPAN broadcast the Williamsburg show. So we were watching it in our air-conditioned hotel room with our feet up. It was quite lovely. But it was really strange with the fireworks because they had a delay. It was like a 30-second delay. So you'd hear boom, boom, boom outside, and then you'd hear boom, boom, boom on the TV. And so they never quite matched up properly, but it was much more comfortable to watch it there, and I'm fine with that. As I've gotten older, I've been more and more inclined to not going to big crowd events. I think when you're watching a sport, you see a lot more, and you can see everything if it's on TV. Fireworks. The New York City fireworks were amazing, but we watched them on TV. So, I don't know. I'm getting more and more into I don't have to be part of this giant sweaty crowd where I can't see everything and I can't hear everything, and people are drinking or they're just being loud and obnoxious. So, excuse me. So I'm doing more and more at home. So we watched it there, even though we were right there. But they did have some special events for the 4th of July. So, for example, Thomas Jefferson got out on the balcony at the Capitol building and read the Declaration of Independence. Now, we know this isn't historical because he was in Philadelphia at the time on the 4th of July, but it was nice to have that character do this. I don't know if you've been to Colonial Williamsburg. If you have not, they have some of the best actors there that I've seen anywhere for any sort of a recreation, historical, anything, anywhere. Now, I'm open to hearing about other places. I really am. But the people who are going to be recreating a person, they have to come in with a whole lot of knowledge. But then they spend like 3 years reading everything that person wrote or was written about them and memorizing it all. So when you are talking to, let's say, Martha Washington, you can ask her anything. And it's, if not guaranteed, it's close to guaranteed she'll have an answer. Now, sometimes the answer is in the future. So we were talking with George Mason at one point, and he said, well, in about 5 years, I'm going to write a paper about that. And it says that this is what I was thinking at the time. So they know all this stuff. It's amazing. And not everybody there is famous. So, for example, Mrs. Vobe, V-O-B-E, was one of the tavern keepers. And the woman that portrays her has done tons of research into her. There's some speculation, but she traces Mrs. Vobe all the way back to England and her husband, and then brings everything to the current time that they're playing at the time. So either the earlier date or, in this case, the 4th of July. There are also things called Meet the Nation Builder events where this person will go up and they will do a 10 to 15, 20-minute little speech type thing. And then they open up the floor to questions. Anybody can ask anything. So these people are amazing. I've never seen anywhere as good. Unfortunately, because of the heat, a lot of the speeches were cut down to about 10 minutes. Just because it was so stinking hot for everybody. And then one of the people that we wanted to see, that we had spoken to in the past but hadn't actually seen their speech, that speech was canceled because of the lightning storm that was going on around the same time. So that was earlier on the 4th, but it had cleared out by 3 o'clock. Well, by 3:30. Unfortunately, he was supposed to speak at 3 and excessive caution and the heat protocols and da-da-da-da. We didn't get to hear him. But that's the only one that we really wanted to see that we couldn't. Um, there was all kinds of things. The strangest thing though was when we got there. I mean, we've been there several times. You walk down the Palace Green, and it's normally just a big open grassy spot. There's horse-drawn carriages that go by occasionally because you can purchase rides. But they had giant screens set up and stages and sound equipment and all of this stuff because every night they had some sort of dance party activity thing, which is very not Colonial Williamsburg, so it felt a little weird. But it's one of those things you say, we're going to be there for the 4th of July for the 250. We never have to go back in July again. Believe me, I'd rather go back in September, October. But because it's the 4th of July 250, we booked like a year in advance. So we just had to swallow it and say, okay, this is not Colonial Williamsburg, but they're doing all these special things. So, okay. But it did feel a little weird when we first got there to see all of that. But it's okay. Normally, there's just more people wandering around you can talk with, which is one of our favorite things. So we did the whole 4th of July thing. There were some new, I don't want to call them skits. They're sort of like plays that we saw in the art museum where it was air conditioned, like I mentioned. One was on Thomas Jefferson. This was an imagining, right, of him writing the Declaration of Independence. And while he says in his writings he did not refer to any books or pamphlets or writings, he was so well read that some of the things we know probably came out of his memory, even though that wasn't directly taken from a book or pamphlet. But it was 4 different people from his past talking to him and talking about what needs to be in this document. So it was an interesting way to do it, one of which was King George, which was kind of fun. So it wasn't like they were ghosts, but one was a philosopher from long before, one was King George, one was his father. I forget who the 4th one was. So it was a very interesting thing to do. And so then afterwards they were taking questions, and one gentleman played Jefferson and another one played everybody else, which was interesting because we saw him multiple times doing multiple different people over the course of the 4 or 5 days that we were there. And so he was just amazing. But that was new. One of the other ones we saw that he was part of was the designing of the Virginia seal. And so they were debating between 2 different options for the saying that's on the seal, the representation of the king, and the representation of Venus. Of victory. And we got to take votes. And so they actually did a count. And what did you vote for? And we were all very good people, and we all voted for the things that were in the final seal. However, the stories behind some of the other options were kind of funny. And I don't know if this conversation ever happened, but it was fun listening to it because they gave the 2 different options, so the 2 different potential themes, etc. And at the end, someone asked the question that I wanted to ask, which is, did you have drawings made up of the other options? And they did. They had all of the different combinations. So they put those up, and it was really funny. It was really funny. And it was kind of interesting to see how an engraver at that time would be likely to do the seal. We only did the one side, the side that has Victory the King, and in this case, Six Semper Tyrannis. Um, so we didn't do the obverse side, but it was still an interesting thing to see. And then there was a play with Mrs. Vogue, the tavern keeper I was telling you about. And I've spent lots of time talking with her in the past, but this was my son has gone for a soldier, and so she was telling the story of what happened when her son decided to join the fight. And then at the end, after the play closed, she explained to us that the son actually did come back and he didn't die for another like 20 years or something. But all of that stuff and what it was like for her as the mother to have the son go. So that was very poignant and very, very well done. And she was fighting a summer cold too, so that made it extra good that she had done such a good job. So these things are not normally available. So it was really nice to get to see stuff we wouldn't be able to see any other time. The theater was sold out all the time. We wanted to see Madison because he was giving a speech. And this is later. This is 18 something when that time frame is set. And the first time we went to go and see him, we had seen a show from 11 to 12. We went upstairs and had lunch, and then we came back downstairs, and they had already, all the seats were full. People had gotten online at 12:30 while we were upstairs online for food, and had filled the place. So luckily we got to see it on Sunday. And then on Monday, we went to Jamestown because I've never been to Jamestown. Jamestown, Yorktown, and Williamsburg are the historic triangle. We've done Yorktown before, but we did Jamestown. And the quality of the reenactors was significantly poorer. There were a couple that were decent. There were a bunch of people there with knowledge, but they were wearing like Jamestown polo shirts, which kind of takes you out of the thing. And so that part wasn't as good in Jamestown, but since I had never been, I got to see the ships. I got to see a whole bunch of stuff. But we'll spend more time in Colonial Williamsburg versus going back to Jamestown or Yorktown. So we did that. While I was there, I was doing some handwork. So I told you guys I was going to work on this. So this is just basted down, but all of the pieces are attached except for the door and the drawbridge. That's just laid on top and basted down. But the center of my castle is done. I did learn that when I did this, the fabric warns you that it's not going to stand very many washings or anything, and it recommends a spray. So we couldn't get that in time, but once I had this all done, I was able to spray it, and it should be fine, and now I can actually do the applique down. I am going to, I don't know if you can see it here. Let me switch cameras. Switch to camera 3. All right. And so right there is where this castle's going to go. But you can see I got the crenellations done. And so I made sure that either the sky or the appropriate tower color, oops, here we go, was between the crenellations. So I felt pretty good about that. I did that by piecing just, I hurt my shoulder, sorry, so I can't lift stuff very well. I pieced just this crenellations part. I hand sewed those together. And then I stitched on the castle wall. And then I stitched and appliqued it down to the towers, right? So then I still need to do like this corner and where the sky is, but the rest of it was all attached. So this was all one piece, except of course, like I said, the door and the drawbridge. So now it'll just be a simple applique job. And so then that'll be done. I'll still have all the embroidery to do. I'll have the flagpoles and the flags and all of that, the windows, all of that kind of stuff. But I'm actually quite pleased. I think this looks pretty darn cute. So, oh, and in the clouds, there's a bunny rabbit here, and there's a cat here, and there's a teddy bear, and what was that? Oh, and there's a dog here. So I know it's silly, but the having the stuff in the clouds is really appropriate for my son and his wife. We're quite happy with that. So I have made some good strides on this. Other than that, not so much. I have started to get the numbers in on these houses. I have like the top 12 to 16 inches done. And I've gone down into some other spaces, but I have a lot more house numbers to write on, and then I have the roofs to match up. I am hoping to be on a retreat in August, and so what I'm going to be trying to do is get the numbers on so that I can then pair up the roof color with the house color, and then I can pull them off the wall. And I can work on doing the rest of these houses, like where these Post-it notes are. These are houses that are cut out and ready to go. They are up there. I don't think you can see them. They're cut out and ready to go, and they have the house numbers written on them. So I'll be able to finish those house bodies, and then hopefully be adding roofs to the ones I've already done. And then I doubt there'll be time on the retreat, but if things go amazingly, then I can start piecing between the houses and get that started. I'm hoping before a retreat in August, because I have other things I'm going to be doing, like I'm going to be doing a 2-day training. So at the end of this month, so I'll take my castle with me and work on that 2-day during my 2-day training. Obviously not during the training, but you know what I mean. So I'm hoping to get the castle done relatively early. I had originally planned on piecing this from the top down, but I think what I may do is start with the castle and then start working my way out and around. So I'm trying to do this without looking. Here we go, out and around. And so I think I'm going to try to piece it like that, so that I'm not stuck in the middle and having all of this while I'm still trying to do the middle here, because I'm going to need to do basically paper piecing. And so it's often easier to start in the middle and work your way towards the edges in chunks. And in order to make them all fit, I think that's how I'm going to need to do it. So this piece will obviously have to be done first. Not the embroidery on it. It can wait if it has to. But if I can do it in advance, that would be better. And then this will go, and then there'll be the ring road that goes around it, and then that will go off to the other sections. So if that's how I have to do it, that's how I have to do it. But the embroidery is going to be really hard on my hands, and there's an awful lot of it for this. So it may wind up having to wait a bit, but that's okay. That's okay. We can manage. Oh, so I have the drawbridge. You'll notice that there's no water yet. It is my plan to put fabric in there, blue fabric as the water, but I'm also thinking I've got to find the right fabric. And then there's probably going to be quite a bit of thread painting over it to have, you know, some hills and valleys. And I'm probably not going to applique it flat. I'm probably going to applique it dimensionally. Haven't decided that for sure. So there will be water added to this as well. Just so you know, because I just realized I didn't tell you that. And then a little tiny piece of road here, just to connect my drawbridge with the road. But I haven't picked my road color yet, so I want to use that same color on this. I did English paper piecing for the castle itself, which is how I wound up with the castle all assembled, except for the door and the drawbridge, into one piece. And now, like I said, all I have to do is the applique on the outer edges, which should go a lot quicker than if I was appliquing each thing at a time. So, plus it kept everything square and everything, you know, together pretty nicely. So that was simple English paper piecing. For all of these curves and things, I'm going to have to do regular paper piecing, but I'm going to need to make sure that I have that 1/2 inch gap here so that my road finishes at 1 inch, because 1/4 inch will be on this row of houses and 1/4 inch will be on that row of houses. Sorry, I'm doing it backwards and not upside down, but reversed. So, so in between it'll be a 1/2 inch. So when I lay it all out, I need to prepare for that. And then what I'll do is I may machine piece the road down on one side here against these houses. Man, I can't do it like this. Okay, sorry. Machine piece. Here we go. Here. Oops, nope, still can't do it right. Okay. On this side, and then on the other side, I'll turn and applique it down. Less handwork for me, which will be really important at that point, because there's going to be yards and yards and yards and yards and yards and yards of road. And so the less of the hand applique I need to do, the better off I'm going to be. But I do want the houses all assembled together and the curve put in, and then sew down the road. But I want to do it in chunks, because trying to do the whole long thing all the way around at once is going to be a nightmare. And I have enough nightmares. I don't need to add that too. So anyway, so that's how I'm going to do that. So in the next 3 weeks, I think it is, before we're back. Let me take a quick look. I was pretty sure. Okay. Yes, we're back again August 5th. So in the next 3 weeks, I'm hoping to have a good chunk of the castle appliqued, if not all of it, and to have all of the houses numbered, and if possible, have all of the roofs chosen. Now, I have the roofs here. This is most of them. It's not all of them, but it is most of them. So they're ready to get put on the houses. That's not going to be a big deal. All I need to do is pick which are going to go with which. I want to do it on the wall so that I don't have like 2 of the same colored purple houses next to roofs next to each other, because the roofs are going to touch in the middle some places. So I'm going to want to make sure it's like a dark and a light, so that it's obvious which goes with which roof, kind of thing, and that they're not attached to each other. But that should be fairly quick to do once I'm ready to do it. And then I'll be able to pull everything up off the wall and take it to the retreat. So I'll have houses to build, I'll have some roofs to still do, and then I'll have the applique to do. So that gives me not applique, all the embroidery to do. So even if I get done with the machine sewing, I'm still going to have a bunch of hand sewing I can do on the retreat. So it's feeling like a pretty good setup for taking things there. But that won't be until, I think, it'll be after our next visit, but I think before the one after that. That's what I'm thinking. So we'll see. I was really proud with how much I got done this time, because my hand was hurting, but I stopped when it got to a certain point, and it never got debilitating. Now, 2 nights ago, I was sleeping. I have no idea what happened, but I locked up this shoulder. So I can barely move it. So right now I can't do the houses because you have to turn them so that you can write the number on straight. So I'm having a really hard time with it yesterday and today. I did a little bit last night during my online bee that I belong to, but I didn't get done nearly what I wanted to in order to be able to advance this. But sometimes you don't have a choice. It just is what it's gonna be, and we take a deep breath and we start again. But I am having to pay attention to my hands, because that's why I haven't been doing all the other English paper piecing I was doing with you before. My flower garden is still sitting downstairs in the little roller set of shelves that I have, where I had them all laid out. It's still sitting there ready to go, but my hands have not been good enough to do it. I can only do a few inches at a time, but it was enough to get my castle done, right? So that's good. I mean, that was 4 days. It took me 4 days to finish putting the castle pieces together. Both sewing the crenellations and then building the towers. But that's okay. That's okay. When it's done, it's going to be really super cute, I think. And I think they're really going to like it. So that's the important part. But anyway, so that's what I've been doing quilt-wise. I really miss the fact that my guilds don't meet over the summer very much. Now, I will say Springfield does meet still every Tuesday for sit and sew. I have just been insanely busy with prepping for trips, being on trips, recovering from trips, meetings, all of that kind of stuff that I haven't been able to go. As president, I need to go more. I know that. And I'm working on making that happen. But, so like I know like on August 4th, I'm going to be there. I'm holding a little mini board meeting there. So, I'm committed. I know for sure that that's a Tuesday I'm going to get to. But yeah, it's been kind of a shame to not have my time with my quilting buddies. But I need to work when the work is there, and I need to do what I need to do in order to prep for the other times. So I am hoping that things will slow down. I am still way behind on a lot of things. But again, we give ourselves grace, and other people will too. And we've got some good ideas. So like this retreat that I'm going on, hopefully, I did not get signed up for on time. They put it out, I think at 10 a.m., and it was fully booked in 20 minutes. And they only put out the reminder notice that it was coming the day before. So I'm on the wait list. I'm the president, but I'm on the wait list. That's okay. That's perfectly fine. I knew I couldn't be there at 10, but I wasn't the one in charge of it, so that's fine. But the fact that that many people signed up for it that fast is cool, because our usual places that they do the retreats at are much more expensive than this one that we're doing. And the hope is that we can take people who can't afford the other ones and give them a retreat experience for a more manageable cost, and maybe get them hooked on it a little bit, so that they'll come and join us for the things. So that's kind of the theory that we have behind it. So I'm really hoping that it works out and we can get it to happen. I know that there's some people from some other chapters that are planning on signing up to go, so that we can meet some cross-chapter friends as well, which is always cool. But that was an idea that we had, that I was part of from the beginning. So it feels kind of cool, because I went on my first retreat this last year, and it was so cool. It was so much fun. I got so much done. It was amazing. And I'd like to have that experience again. But I also know what being on a budget, and of course I'm still working full time, so it does make a difference as to how it works. So I'm really hoping that this takes off as well. So we maybe have a third retreat each year that's less expensive, and over the summer. So, maybe people who teach can now attend because they won't be in school. Or, the grandkids are taken by the grandparents on a little mini trip, and mom gets to come and sew with us or something. So fingers crossed, that's how that's going to work. One thing I didn't talk about is my face. It probably looks like I'm sunburned. It is the skin thing I've been fighting. It's just everywhere now. Except I have some spots on my neck that are red, but the rest is white. So it kind of looks like I got my sunscreen across here and nowhere else on my face. But unfortunately, because of this, I can't wear makeup or sunscreen. So it's going to look like this for a while. I'm working on it. I'm doing everything I'm being told to do. I'm hoping it'll get under control. But at the moment, it's fighting me tooth and nail. So Unfortunately, no, this isn't sunburn. You're going to probably still see this in February. But, you know, life is what life is. And so I'm hoping that that it clears up, and I'm hoping that it stops itching so much. That would be nice. But one way or another, I'm still going to try to be here for you. I'm still going to try to do stuff with you. I am planning still on getting back to the orphan blocks thing we were talking about. I just need this more under control for travel, because I just got another speaking gig. And so I'm going to Toronto, not once, but twice this year. I'm going up in September and in October. 1 month later, it's like an hour north of Toronto the second time. So there'll be a bunch of travel on my schedule, and that's a great time to do things like the embroidery, that kind of stuff on planes or at the conventions or whatever. So I'm hoping that by the end of the year, this is probably something I shouldn't talk about because it may not happen, but I'm hoping that by the end of the year, this thing has all been chunked out and I've gotten all the embroidery done. And then it's simply at the assemble it together with the roads part, and do things like, even if I don't finish the quilting, at least have it basted and ready, so on their second anniversary I can show it to the kids. Because I told them I needed a year after I stopped doing the temperature taking, which would be February. Now, I had a lot of this done before that, but they don't know that. Well, they know I've been working on it. They just don't know what it's going to look like. And I told them it would take me a year. But this has become way more complex than I'd originally intended. So it's going to take even longer. But I'm hoping that I can show them the whole top at that point, so that they can see what's coming, and then maybe only take 6 months to finish it up or less. That would be great. I do still have to design everything that's going to Spoonflower. So that's all the stuff that's going on the back, plus the Pokemon Training Center, the travel agency, and the billboard that are going on the other side. And then on the back, it'll have the temperature chart and how many of each color range. So like how many, how many orange houses there are because it was in the 80s, etc. So I'm planning on putting all of that data, because my son's a math guy, on the back so he can actually see that without having to count everything. And some of these, you know what it's like with color. Is it blue or is it green? Right? So there's some that are maybe on the border. So having the chart in the back that says that it was 79 that day will let them know what it is. But I'm really pleased with how it's coming out. I'm pleased with how the castle came out, because like I said, I think it's so stinking cute. So I need to get all this stuff prepped so that I'm ready for the next phase. Once I'm in the chunking phase, I'm going to try to do some of that here so you can see it happen, as well as some of the roads. But I think a lot of that's going to have to happen offline, and I can do the things like the orphan blocks at that point. Oh, so you've probably been noticing. So I did get my nails done. This nail peeled off, but in red, white, and blue for the 4th of July. And then on my big toes, well, all my toes are blue, but then on my big toes, I have a heart-shaped flag with that's red and white. So it was cute. It was fun to do for the 4th of July. They're coming off tomorrow, so you won't see them again. And I may do this again another year, but it distracts even me when I'm doing things. So I may not do it again in the future, but it's been kind of fun, and a lot of people have noticed. So it was a talking point, if nothing else. Okay, so other than that, I do have, like I said, a training later this month, but that won't impact you guys. There are, I think, 2 times in the rest of this year where I'm going to have to shift the day ahead or back a day, because I'll be actually like on a plane those days. But I'm going to try to make that happen and give you plenty of notice of it, so that you're not like, oh, well, where's Maria, right? Or so that you can plan that for those of you who like to be on live, whether you chat with me or you lurk, doesn't matter, so that you can know that it'll be different. Today, I actually had a meeting that didn't end until 7 in Falls Church, and so I got home from there pretty much just in time to get up here and start at the 7:45. So that's why we had to push it back the hour today. But most of the time, 7 o'clock, first and third Wednesdays, and I'll let you know when it's something that's going to be different. But I'm so glad that you guys come. I know you're a small group. I'm fine with that. I'm happy with that. It is kind of funny that I tend to be stuck at that 58, 59 subscriber level, but that's fine. I never thought it was going to get to 1 million, 1.5 million, or some of these other things of people that I follow, but that's okay. I'm here for you, but I'm also here for me. This forces me to do some of this stuff instead of letting myself keep putting everything off and not get a chance to sew. So this is for me, and I hope you get something out of it. But I love to hear from you guys. There are some of you who email me like after every one of these with comments, suggestions. I like this. I liked that. Which is why mail@stashblasterquilts.com. Please. I know I didn't have that up for the longest time. It's still the same thing it's always been. It was just tucked around the corner because I also do my business Zoom meetings in this room. Now, because of this, I have to hang brown sheeting across just to hide it. But because of that got moved to the side, and I just completely forgot to put it back out for the longest time. So please feel free. mail@stashblasterquilts.com. Drop me notes. Make suggestions. If there's something you'd like me to do, if there's something you'd like to see, let me know. I'm happy to share. If you've got organizing questions, because that is my main business, even if it's not about your sewing space or your sewing box or whatever it is, quilt related, I'm happy to talk to you about that. I want this space to be a friendly, open, sharing kind of environment. And I'm not worried about going viral. I'm not worried about having my entire income, that I need to pay my bills paid for by, being here. YouTube can do that for people. Certainly can. Some of the people I follow, this is their source of income. They have sponsors, they have memberships, they have Patreon, they have all of this stuff. And all of their bills are paid for from their show, basically, their YouTube channel. I am not that dedicated to producing content. Some of these people spend 60 to 80 hours a week because editing takes forever, which is why this is done as a live stream and not as edited content. Because if it was edited content, there'd be a lot fewer of them. Basically, it takes an hour to edit 7 minutes of content if you're lucky. It's often an hour for one. So when you see these people that are putting out 15-minute little mini videos and things like that, you have to realize that it takes them longer to edit it than it took to do it. Especially if they have things that pop up and the music and, all the word writing over everything, and that stuff takes a long time. And I've done this as a live stream from the beginning because I knew I didn't have that kind of time. As my business and my participation in my business slows, I'm hoping to have more time, but I'm probably still not going to put out a lot of edited content. Maybe some, but you know, I think doing whatever I can live is going to work. If, however, you guys, if that's something else that you want, is you want more short form content, because this is usually an hour. Sometimes it ends early. So I always try to stop on time, but sometimes it ends early. But if you want 2-minute things, 2-minute videos, 5-minute videos, I mean, YouTube and Instagram want everything at 2 minutes or less, and 1 or less is even better. I can put out some short-term content, but as edited content. But most of you that have talked to me like the long form, even if it's not all polished and nice. I mean, Charlie Neebe, she has 2 channels. One's The Stitchery and one's Charlie Neebe, which is all edited content, and it's all like minimum of a half an hour. And I don't know how she does it. I don't know how she does it, because that's an awful lot of editing time. But, you know, that's how that goes. Now, you can pay people to edit, but that costs you more than you'll make unless you're up in the millions of viewers. I'm sure Mr. Beast doesn't edit his own videos. But anyway, so I've really enjoyed this longer term, long form content. But let me know what you guys want. I see somebody pop something in here. Gemini June, hi. You do an edited video about your son's quilt, a sort of video version of the behind the scenes booklet about the making of. When it's done, yeah, I probably can. I have had people who have suggested that I take photos and do a book about this when it's done. I don't know that anybody else would want to make this quilt. It's gonna be a lot. There's an awful lot of hours in this. But I do talk about it on all of these live streams, so I could, if nothing else, put together something from all of the live streams I've done since I started it. I think that might be kind of fun. It'll still probably be long form content in order to show you everything, but it will be an option. But yeah, when somebody was suggesting that I do the book, I'm sitting there going, what other person's as crazy as I am who would make it? Just because we're talking English paper piecing, curves, a temperature quilt with multi-piece blocks, tracking the times and temperatures and putting the house numbers on everything. Then there's all the embroidery. Then there's all the applique. You know, there's an awful lot that went into this. It's going to be thousands of hours by the time I'm done with it. So I think it might be fun for people to see that quilt, but I don't know that it's worth putting together a book including pattern and all of that, because I don't know that anybody else is as nutso as I am. So it'll be interesting to see. It has been suggested, but yeah, I think I could certainly pull together. It won't be super polished because it's going to be over the course of 2 years, clips over the course of 2 years. But sure, I think that might be fun. So yeah, I will note this when we are done today, and it'll go into my book for the finish up on this quilt. Because the kids might also like to see all of the stages of doing this quilt from the very beginning. I think they might like that to go with the quilt. So, because that I can hand to them on a thumb drive. They wouldn't have to watch it as a video. But I could also do it as a video and they could see it there as well. So that's a great idea. I like that. So yeah. Let's put that on my to-do list, huh? But yeah, I think that might be easier than writing the book on it anyway. But so additional embroidery, which you may not know, because there's basically cul-de-sac type open spaces in this, like up here there's an open space that even once I put the road in, it's just going to be open. because there's roads here and here, but there's nothing in here. That's the kind of thing where I might put a swing set or something else that's fun, or just another Pokemon because they're so into Pokemon. That was my thinking as well. There we go. So I keep thinking of new things to embroider in on top with everything else that I'm already embroidering on this thing. So I'm not sure when this is going to get done. We'll see when we see. But I thought a couple little basketball hoops or something along those lines might be fun. Or, like I said, it'll probably be mostly Pokemon because that's what they really like. I am planning on putting, just on this, I'm going to have a Pikachu because that's my son's favorite. And then there's a couple of water-based Pokemon that'll probably go here in my moat. And then I may put like one of the dragon ones wrapping around the tower, you know. So there's going to be probably 3 or 4 just on this. Oops, sorry, just on this. And then they're going to be scattered all through as well. And then I have all the different door decorations that I want to do. So once I have the dates on everything, then I can look at my list and see when are the anniversaries, when are the birthdays, and I can do all of those embroideries while I'm traveling as well. So that's kind of why I want to get to that stage where these can come down relatively early. So I have my travel box of stuff that I can take with me on all of these different things I'm doing all over the continent for the rest of the year. So that's why I'm really crushing on this right now, and I'll deal more with the orphan blocks later. So, excuse me. So, if you've got any questions, I'll happily take them at any time. You can also email them to me. And if you have suggestions for the channel or anything else, please feel free to share those. But all in all, health-wise, like I said, shoulders locked up, face is peeling off, but other than that, I'm doing okay. That's kind of like a, you know, other than that, Mrs. Ford, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play? But other than these few things, I'm fine. My husband's doing fine. My son and his bride are doing fine. Her brother's doing fine. So health-wise, we're all fine. I am a little tired of all the travel, and there's a lot more to come, but that's okay. And I am planning all of this stuff out in advance so that when it's time, and I get that little bit of time, those few minutes here or there, that I will have things for this quilt ready to go. Because I machine pieced all the houses, it's not something I could travel with very easily. Could I have hand pieced them? Sure. Is that kind of crazy cuckoo town? Yes. And while I am a certain level of crazy, I don't think I'm that crazy. So the stuff that has to be done by hand has to be done by hand. So I want to get all of that prepared for all of this travel I'm doing. But I'm so excited that I'm at this point because there's not, with that retreat coming up, all the houses will be finished. That I know for sure, because the last time I went on a retreat, I know how many houses I made, and there's fewer left. So I know the houses will be done. I'm pretty sure all the roofs will be done. And I'm hoping that some of the roofs are on the houses before I leave that retreat. That is like the goal on that retreat. But between now and then, can I make houses? Can I do roofs? Sure. And I'm hoping to have the time to do that. But the embroidery stuff I can take with me. So that'll be very cool. It's just a few minutes early this time. So unless anybody has a question they want to pop in the chat right now, then we're going to go ahead and shut down a little bit early for today. I thank you so much for those of you who are on live, because I know it is a shift in schedule, and that can be hard to accommodate. So thank you so much for being here. And then, again, feel free to email. And I will see you in 3 weeks, which will be August 5th at 7 o'clock, our usual time. Seeing nothing currently in the chat, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of July 2026. Please don't melt. I know I have felt like I was going to several times lately, including today. It was hot, it was humid. So stay inside, do some sewing, have some fun, and I hope to see you in 3 weeks. All right? Take care. Bye-bye.